Hello, welcome to my mini course all about equine arthritis and how best to help your horse. I'm really pleased to be able to bring you this because it's been something that's been nagging at me for years that's a little bit misunderstood out there. So I'm just really wanting to give you the best information you possibly can to manage your horses better. My name's Kira and I'll introduce myself a little bit more in a few minutes. But first of all, I just want to know if this sounds like this resonates with you at all. Did you feel when the vet either suggested or diagnosed arthritis in your horse that you were pretty crushed, like heartbroken because of that word? And either you might have had an x-ray and it showed it and that was a bit of a shock for you, or maybe you just weren't sure what was going on and the vet looked at your horse and they suggested arthritis and it was just that heart sink moment. You might feel a bit overwhelmed with all the treatment options available. You don't really know what to do. Either the injections from the vet, you don't know where to start with it, which one to get, whether you need it or not. How do you know what to do? And also products as well. There's so many products out there, from supplements to sort of equipment that you can buy. There's just so much to choose from. How do you know what it is that your horse needs, what's going to work? And you know full well that what works for one horse might not work for yours. And so what is it that you do? How do you choose? And do you need any of it? You do feel you worried a lot about your horse because they're in pain and you don't know if you can help them. And the stress of it is actually kind of making you quite tired because you're just worried about their quality of life. Are they actually enjoying life or are they just suffering really? And you just want to do the best for them, but you don't know how. Then you might feel guilty because let's face it, the reason we got a horse is to enjoy them, and at the moment you're losing that happy times together because you're worried they're in pain and you're just worrying all the time and you're not doing the things that you plan to do with them. And so then you feel guilty that maybe you feel like you're making it about you when actually they're the ones feeling it. And you just want them to be happy really. So if this sounds like you're one of these things or more, then this is definitely the course for you. And I really just want to help you take away all these feelings and change it into something positive. I want you to feel confident that you know what you're doing and you have a plan for them as well, and you know where you're going. Now, before we get started, I just want to tell you about a couple of horses. So the first one is Oscar, and Anna is his loaner, and she came to me really quite concerned for the first time. I didn't know her. And Oscar had been lame for quite some time, started off mildly and had become moderately lame. And he was getting to the point where he was so slow and reluctant walking out of his stable that she was just really worried that he just was not happy or enjoying life at all anymore. And she didn't really know what to do. His actual owner wasn't particularly forthcoming in getting him looked at, so she took it on herself with very little funding. And so because he was actually lame, I got the vet to see him first, and she basically diagnosed arthritis, although it was a bit non-specific. So when I talked to the vet about him, it was just generalised arthritic pony, and that was that really. So they didn't do x-rays or anything because of costs, which is fine, that's not a problem. And she was more than happy for me to see him for physio to see what I thought and do what I could. So when I saw him, he was really sore, and he's an ex-riding school pony, so bless him, he's been through a lot. He's one of those heart of gold, just puts up with anything, and he was just more and more reluctant. I saw him try to walk out of his stable and he just so struggled with walking. It was really quite sad to see. And I did a full assessment and found a few sore bits in his body, some compensations, but really there was one particular joint that I could narrow it down to, and that was one of his knees, so his right carpus was particularly stiff and extremely painful. As lovely a gentleman as he is, he had quite a strong pain reaction to me mobilising that joint. So although the vet didn't specifically say which joints are arthritic, I basically narrowed it down to that one, and then treated him with the physio, and then gave him his loaner a load of advice and some exercises to do, because I was quite heavily pregnant at the time, so I was just about to go on maternity leave. And I pretty much gave her all the advice that I'm going to give to you in this mini course. And I only saw him twice before I had the baby. And I actually haven't been back to see him since, unfortunately. I will be going. But they've been managing so well. It's been nearly a year since I've seen him. And he's got better and better without actually needing the direct physio treatment, because she's following all the advice. He's happily walking out of his stable, he's going on hacks, and he's just generally, he's getting quite bendy, as you can see from the picture that she sent me. He's just a happy pony again, which is amazing. And the next story is about Harley, one of my absolute favourite clients. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but I've got permission to tell you about him from his owner. And he was a pony that they lived further away from us originally, so he had been not quite right and not himself, not very happy for quite some time, probably a good few years before I saw him. He did see another physio type person where he lived, and she said something about his pelvis being out, whatever that means, and he just wasn't really getting any better with the treatment. So when they moved into my area, they came to me, and first of all, he was just so covered in pain all over his body. He had so much muscle tightness, spasticity, really big painful reactions to almost everything, bless him. But I pretty much localised it down to his hocks, and one was worse than the other, with really reduced range of movement and joint stiffness. And I worked out that pretty much everything else was compensatory. So because he was so sore, again, I got him to see the vet to see what she thought and offer the treatments that they could and work together. So he ended up getting x-rays, and he was diagnosed with arthritis in his hocks. Again, that one worse than the other. So it fit with my findings as well. And he was actually given a steroid injection to help settle down the intense pain, with a good plan to add in further injections later on that are more longer term, healthier type injections, as well as the vet recommending regular physio. So I saw him, treated him, and gave him again all the advice and exercises, and he got better and better. He had ups and downs, so he had some flare-ups, which we managed, or the owner managed with my advice, really well. And whenever there was a little flare-up, it was sorted pretty quickly. And he basically went for the next 2 to 3 years never actually needing the next injections, which is awesome. And the very last time I saw him, he was actually, despite getting on in years, he was the best I'd ever seen him. And he was moving so well, I actually said she should take him out showing again, because he was great and he was happy in himself, which is awesome. So, and unfortunately, it was something unrelated that kind of came to the end. But I just wanted to let you know that there are positive stories out there. And although we think of arthritis as progressive, degenerative, it really can be managed well, and it doesn't necessarily mean that things are going to get worse, particularly if you get the right help. And I'm hoping to give you all the advice that you need for yours. So how is it that I can help you? Now, this is a little bit about me. So I'm a chartered physiotherapist and a veterinary physiotherapist. So I'm kind of in a double profession of humans and animals. I have helped probably hundreds to thousands of patients with OA, as in osteoarthritis, and that is including people and animals. I have basically dedicated my life to this career because I've only ever wanted to work with animals, particularly horses, since, well, a child really. And I basically decided to take the long route of being qualified to the best standard that I could be to give you the best treatment for horses. So that means that I've got the gold standard in qualifications, which is 2 degrees, so the Bachelor of Science in Physiotherapy and then the postgraduate diploma in Veterinary Physiotherapy, and professional registrations. So I am ACPAT registered, which is the Association of Chartered Physiotherapists in Animal Therapy, RAMP registered, which is the Register of Animal Musculoskeletal Practitioners, which is emulating the Healthcare Professions Council for Humans, which is the regulatory body that provides a standardised care across the board, and we have to belong to treat humans. And it's basically aiming to improve standards for animal welfare. And also member of the Chartered Society of Physiotherapy, which is people, and the Healthcare Professions Council, which we have to be legally to practice with people. So the experience that I've got is pretty much how I'm going to help you. And like I say, the sacrifices that I've made, because I've only ever wanted to work with animals, particularly horses, but I took the long route in order to get the best knowledge and experience to care for the horses the best I possibly can. So doing a job that I don't like, to say the least, is kind of how I've sacrificed my life really to get the best knowledge and experience for you. And that experience does include things like running classes for arthritis for people. So I've got first-hand years of experience. I've been a chartered physio 14 years of people with arthritis. So I've assessed them as a one-to-one, and then in the classes listened to their problems. So I've got that kind of knowledge about how people tell me, because people can use language obviously with words, so they can tell me exactly what they're feeling, how it affects their life, everything that they're doing in their lifestyle, and we manage it together. We figure out the best ways to deal with it. So I can see the patterns where I've got the physical assessment and what they're telling me it feels like. You know, I put it together, and that's kind of how physio works. I can then apply that to horses, and I've also done some training in equine behaviour and communication. So all those things together mean that I can pretty much estimate very well how a horse is actually feeling with the signs that I can see and feel with them, and hopefully that's how I can best help really. So I've experienced a lot of horses with arthritis as well and helped them quite well, and hopefully it all comes together and gives you all the information that I've put across for all the years. So I've got the up-to-date evidence because we are committed to regular continuous professional development, and knowledge obviously about the science and understanding the process of arthritis, what it actually is, and the evidence behind all the treatments and the options that you can do. And obviously management is different to veterinary treatment sometimes, so I've got all that kind of knowledge and experience around everything that you can do to manage them. Now, I want to tell you about something that I've come up with, because a lot of people don't really know where to start when it comes to arthritis, and I want you to be able to kind of organise your brain to get it straight in your head about what you're doing. So I've come up with something called the LAIM system, spelt differently to LAIM, but you'll see. So the first part that you're going to do is log. Now that means want to log the signs of pain that your horse or pony is having, and that might include behaviours, lameness, anything that make you think your horse is unhappy. Write it all down in some sort of diary, and also keeping a log of what you're doing with them. So that includes their routine, so whether they're out at night and in the day, opposite way round, out all day, and including exercise as well. So if you're riding, how long you're riding for, what gaits you're doing, if you're jumping, you know, what it is specifically that you're doing with them each day, and their reactions to it. So things like tacking up as well. Are they cold backed? Are they girthy? Any of the things that happen that make you think they're not quite right or not quite happy with something, but maybe you don't know what the pattern is just yet. So just write it all down, what you're doing, and management as well. So if you are doing arthritis treatments, so injections or something, keep that logged as well. The next step is to acquire knowledge and understanding. So you've written down what you're doing to start with and how they're behaving. Now what you need to do is actually know and understand what arthritis is scientifically, and also the treatment options. So how do you know what you're going to do if you don't really understand how they work and how it is meant to help your horse? So the next step is to implement. Once you know about the treatment options, management options, and understand arthritis and how it might be dealt with, you then can choose the ideal treatment and management for your horse particularly. So there's no point giving them something that you don't know if it's going to work, because that's a lot of people's problems. They don't want to spend the money if you don't know if it's actually going to help, which is completely understandable. So you're only going to choose and implement the ideal management because of that knowledge and understanding that you've acquired. Then that's not the end of the story. You need to monitor the effects and modify. So with your tracker or diary, whatever it is that you've got to log your horse's behaviours and management, once you've done the treatment that you want to do, you then need to see if their responses change. So whatever signs and symptoms they had before, write down what they're continuing with after the treatment. Now, it might be that things help, which is great. It might be it helps a bit, but not fully, and you're not completely happy with the outcome. So it might not be that you got the treatment wrong. It may very well be that that was the right treatment from the vet, but something else just needs modifying. So their exercises might need modifying, how much you're doing with them, what their management is, or maybe, you know, the physio treatment, whatever it is. Or it might be the other way around. It might be that you're getting some things right, but maybe the veterinary treatment didn't help. And vice versa. It might be all fantastic and it all really was like a miracle cure. Keep a track of it, because unfortunately a lot of things that help marvellously to start with don't really last. So you need to be logging it to know when things are starting to wear off and what you can do about it next. And modifying management is long term. So because we're talking about osteoarthritis, we all know it's not something that can be cured. It's a management thing only. There is no point in expecting something to work long term. We need to make sure we're in this for the long haul, and the only way that you're going to be truly happy and confident with what you're doing is if you've actually got a long-term plan. So this whole system is ongoing. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can say to you that's going to be do this and they'll be better, because that's just not how it works. So if you keep monitoring and modifying, and then you go back in the cycle as well, if you start to notice something's not quite right again, you're going to look at what you've got, what you're doing, and use your knowledge and understanding of the options to then implement something else and monitor that as well and modify things as you go. So that's my system to try and keep your horse as happy as can be and reduce pain as much as we possibly can. And so hopefully that gets it a bit clearer in your heads as to what you can do about it. And this course, this mini course, is all about the acquire part of this system. So this is the knowledge and understanding that I'm going to give you about arthritis itself and the treatment and management options, so that hopefully by the end of it you can then implement what you decide is the ideal treatment for your individual horse. So what we're going to cover in this mini course is basically all about osteoarthritis. Now there are other types of arthritis, so there's inflammatory or infectious arthritis, to name a couple, and what we're specifically talking about is osteoarthritis, which is OA for short, and I'll probably just refer to it as OA because of habit, and that's what I mean by it. So it is the degenerative progressive type of arthritis that we're talking about in joints. Now, like I've said, this is part of the LAIM system, which is acquiring knowledge and understanding. And what we're going to cover is briefly simple joint anatomy, so that you know what is included in a joint and the bits that we're talking about when a vet discusses it with you, and common equine joints that become affected by arthritis, just to know a little bit more about them, so you know, you've got it in your head what they look like. We're going to talk about the process of osteoarthritis, as in the biology, which is the main reason I wanted to do this course, is to get people to understand more of how complex it is, because it's not really a simple thing. We're going to talk about how we can actually help our horses with it, so all the management and treatment options, both from your vet and what you can do about it. Hopefully going to clear up a lot of confusion about what the options are, and hopefully some myth busting along the way. So there might be some things that I talk about that are actually kind of common beliefs that aren't particularly true. So hopefully it will all help you to understand and get a better grasp of what's really going on. So who this is for, basically this mini course is designed for the owners of horses and ponies with diagnosed or suspected arthritis. Like I've said, you don't need to have an x-ray to diagnose it, to want to gain more information and know about what your options are, and just to help manage them better. So it might be that you're just concerned about it in the future. If arthritis is something that you're worried about, if your horse might get it and you want to prevent it and things to do, then this is going to be really helpful for you. I do target my physio and this really for those people that are really only interested in doing the best you can for their quality of life. If you're somebody that really truly loves your horse and you just want to do everything you can to care for them and keep them happy, then this is for you. It can also be good for some equine professionals. So if you work on a yard, livery staff, livery owners, if you're a trainer or a coach, or maybe farriers, dentists, anyone that works with horses, that you work with horses with arthritis or suspected, and you want to know what the best things are so that you can advise your clients best, and have all the right information so that you don't give anyone the wrong information and you just know best what to do to help them as well. It could be really helpful for you. Now, how to use this mini course. It's broken down into chapters of each topic. It was going to be just one big webinar, but it became a bit too massive that I had to break it down into bite-sized chunks for you. And it's all video presentations just like this one, and each topic has the length of the video next to the title, so you can see how long to give yourself for each one. You do it at your own pace, so you can do as much or as little as you want at a time, just making sure you've got enough time to do each one when you can. So it's completely down to your schedule and what you've got time for. But you do have lifetime access. So this is the aim is to give you the knowledge that you need for your entire life. That, I mean, nothing about arthritis is going to change. So once you understand the process of it, this is going to last you forever. But it might be that treatment-wise, it might be that some new options come up in the future, or different new evidence comes out for things. So I will be sort of revisiting and updating as new evidence comes out. So it's worth checking in every year or two and just making sure that any new information that comes out you get to know about as well. If you do have any questions, because I'm never going to cover everything that everyone wants to know through sheer knowing what you want to know myself, please do use the forums. So I am here to help you, and anything that either I've discussed and you've not quite understood and you want me to just explain it in a different way, just ask me on the forum for the topic. And equally, there might be some things that you want to know about that I haven't mentioned. And please, I do want to help, so please just ask whatever you want to know. And there are quizzes at the end of each topic. So I really want you to be involved and make sure you have the understanding that I want you to have. So they're not too tricky, but just give yourself a little test at the end of each topic. Make sure you've understood it all. Now, the topics, the quizzes at the beginning and the end, so after this introduction and right at the end of the conclusion one, are actually not ones that you get answers for, because they are pre and post questionnaires for the course. Now, they're ones that I just wanted to get more of an idea of what knowledge and understanding you start out with before you do the course, and how you end up when you've done it. So I want to make sure that I'm covering everything that I need to get the right result for you. So if you can fill those out, it'd be really helpful to make sure that this course is doing what I want it to do. And last of all, kind of just watching me and talking at you isn't actually going to change anything. You do need to take the action. So all the tips and advice that I've got in here, and understanding the process and the pros and cons of each treatment option, you do then, as part of the LAIM system, that's acquiring the knowledge and understanding, you then need to implement it. So whatever exercises come up, or treatment options, you've then got to implement the right thing for your horse. Once you've decided what the best thing is, it is then down to you to implement the right thing. And that's how you're going to get your results of a happier horse and horses in less pain and happier you. So I'm really excited. I hope you're excited as I am to get to know more about what you should do to help your horse. Let's go.